What's going on, everybody? Welcome. Oh, sorry about that. Welcome to Crunch Time here on a early Sunday morning. Thanks, FanDuel. Going a couple minutes earlier. We'll talk the FanDuel slate, but we've got Justin and Tim here, and more importantly, Tim, we've got a special guest on the show today. Who do we have on the shoulder today?
Yeah, this is Roscoe. He sometimes visits us for this show. He's more of a weekend guy, so he's going to provide some Roscoe Rockets later in the show. So stay tuned for those.
Yeah, Roscoe Rockets, Tim's Taters. We've got Justin's Cardinals to play, and I've got Britt's Bets, maybe something like that. So we'll figure something out here today. What's going on, Justin? You and I ranting a little bit about FanDuel. No, there's no Coors game, and then we have the early game, which is the exact opposite of everything they've done all season long. Makes us all get on here a few minutes early today.
Yeah, I expected to see the usual FanDuel Sunday where the Rockies are at home, so they kind of match the DK slate, but add the Coors game, which I think is sometimes fun on Sundays. But woke up early this morning to find that they excluded Coors and included the game that starts an hour earlier than every other game, which they haven't done all season long. And they've decided to do on the last Sunday where anyone cares about baseball content with football starting next Sunday. So I'm not sure why that change was made. Somebody pushed the wrong button. They just decided to throw us for a loop. They enjoy watching the Cardinals. I don't know, but it was strange to see that. But yes, alas, we have an earlier start on FanDuel today. So just make sure if you're building lineups there, like you don't have to play anybody from the first game. Just make sure that you don't have like a dummy lineup with a bunch of players that, aren't in the lineup from that game and get stuck with that.
Yeah, I want to know. So we're going to go over the FanDuel game first for you guys playing, just in case anyone's watching and playing. It does lock a little earlier, and it's an interesting game. And I do want to go over really quick. I think at the top, I want to go over the weather. If you want to bring this up, Steve. Well, Roth had the Royals game as yellow or orange yellow earlier in the day, and we've got Tariq Skubal pitching. He's lowered it from orange yellow to yellow. Is that's a reasonable. I think that's a pretty big drop from Mr. Roth today. So he says the radar isn't showing the kind of coverage or rain that they was doing earlier this morning. That's good news for Skubal. It's not quite risk free. His current thinking is that they play ball on time and fight through a few light showers. There remains one of those showers is heavy enough for a delay, but a low enough chance that he'd roll the dice with the pitchers. Just real quick, as we're maybe trying to get constructing lineups, when I see orange, Justin, anything from Roth, alarm bells go off in my head. I'm glad to see the orange has disappeared. The radar did look a little spottier. I haven't checked in the last 15 minutes or so. What are we doing with this? The big drop from orange yellow to a yellow from Roth. How are you handling Skubal today?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're planning on playing Skubal as your kind of SP1, he's totally fine. The good news is you got some pivots there today if you want them. I think you're probably playing Skubal in cash games as your SP1. I kind of prefer Hunter Brown in tournaments, so we'll get to that. But if you just want to avoid all the risk altogether, then just play Hunter Brown anyways. But weather seems like they're going to get that one in, with the only caveat being a lot of times if there does happen to be a delay and it's very short, teams will throw their starter back out there. Frankly, I don't think the Tigers would take any chances with Skubal if there's any sort of delay. It just doesn't make sense for them to risk throwing him back out there when he's your basically clear number one guy. They've got an 8.5 game lead in the division. You're not gonna throw Skubal back out there after some sort of rain delay. So maybe a little bit more risk on that front if there is a brief delay that they just pull him. But as of right now with the weather, I think if you're planning on playing him, you're fine to play him if you want no risk whatsoever, and at least you got some other guys you can look at.
Tim, real quick, what's your weather take? Again, a big downgrade from Roth from orange yellow to yellow. I like seeing that. Cards brings up a few good points. Would you have any risk with Skubal with the weather right here?
Usually, I just whatever Roth just goes yellow or better, I play that pitcher in everything, including cash games, and that's been kind of a philosophy of mine going back several years now. So, and it really has not been steering me wrong. I'm not saying I disagree with Justin at all. And definitely, like, I think that case is even better on a FanDuel, because I mean, you just play one pitcher over there, Hunter Brown's $400 less than Scooball. Like, yeah, Scooball's a better play, but if you want literally no risk, then yeah, you can just pitch Hunter Brown. It's really not that much of a downgrade. That being said, if I was playing cash games on FanDuel, I would still rock with Scooball, because I think taking some risk is okay, and I think Scooball is the better pitcher. So I'm going to roll out Scooball, at least in my single entry team.
Yeah, even with a low strikeout in theory matchup against the Royals, I mean, he has the 10+ strikeout upside against anybody. I think with the downgrade and whether I also with you two, not as concerned as I was earlier this morning. So I wanted to bring that up at the top for some of you guys. So let's go over to FanDuel now. And Justin, what are we doing? We've got a game. It's in Great American Small Park. You know, Brady Singer. What is it? Is it Palante? Palante? How do you pronounce your?
Yeah, it's Palante.
Palante. That's what I figured here. So he's gotten beat up pretty hard over his past starts here. Cincinnati players are reasonable. They're maybe a little bit higher priced on FanDuel than some of the St. Louis bats. How are you factoring in? I mean, I think you can maybe even, in theory, play Singer as maybe one of your lower priced tournament options over there. What do you like on this game?
Yeah, I mean, really, you can make a case for nothing, and you can make a case for bats from either side, and I think you can make a case for Singer. Like, Palante is not playable. There's no reason to do that on FanDuel. His ERA in August is 9.82, so yeah, it's been rough for him. But I mean, he's a ground ball like BABIP guy, and the BABIP has gone really south. So I don't think he's as bad as those August numbers would indicate, but he's also, I mean, doesn't strike anybody out. He's not going to throw the ball by these Reds guys. But I don't love stacking against him. I mean, he gets, 60% plus ground ball rate. And I just don't think he's going to have the BABIP luck be as bad as it has been the last two starts for 3 starts in a row. So if you're going anywhere for Cincinnati, like Marte, De La Cruz, they can hit the ball in the air. They've got good splits against righties. I think those guys are fine. Probably shying away from a full stack on the Cincinnati side. The Cardinals side is only intriguing because they're so cheap. They've got so many injuries now, plus the season's not going anywhere. So Wynn is out, Arenado's still out, Burleson's out, and the lineup today is just basically full of it's Herrera and Contreras, and then everybody else is under 3K on FanDuel there. So I don't love picking on Singer either. Frankly, I think the lineup itself gives Singer an upgrade to where if you want to use him as a pivot away from the other top tier pitchers, not a lot of people will be thinking about him. If they're playing on Draftkings, they're not using Singer. So yeah, I think Singer's probably my favorite choice from this game. Maybe those one-off Reds bats. A Cardinal stack, if you're building like 50+ entries, probably isn't crazy. Or you can just say, hey, I'm going to give myself the extra hour to see what's going on with the weather in KC. I'm just going to fade this game entirely. Like, I don't think that kills you on this slate either.
Yeah, I think Justin pretty much summed up my thoughts. I guess my one question to you is, Tim, with the cheap Cardinals, if you had to pick between a Nootbaar or who's the Gorman,
Well,
they're both 2,900.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm way more bullish on the Cardinals than Justin is in terms of the bats. I don't mind his take on Singer at all. I'm in line with him. I mean, I think they're both good plays. You can get exposure to them in GPPs for sure. It's only $8,800 for Singer, but I mean, the Cardinals are flooding optimals right now. They're flooding Sims. Sims really like the Cardinals as a stack. Nolan Gorman and Lars Nootbaar are like all over optimals right now. So I really do like them quite a bit. And I think that there's cheap enough players in this stack that it's really easy to get to the Scooballs, get to the Hunter Browns with that Cardinals stack. So for me, I would build a stack of them probably in my first 5 teams that I'm making, maybe not in one team, but they're so darn cheap, and I think they're in a good enough spot that I do kind of like the Cardinals bats today.
All right, I'm going to throw a couple this guy or that guy at you, Tim.
Yep.
So let's go third base on FanDuel. Gorman at 2,900 or Brooks Lee at 2,700 hitting third for Minnesota.
Probably Gorman.
What do you like on that? What do you like, Justin? If I got that one for you.
Yeah, that's close. I'd probably go with Lee since he's hitting third for the Twins. I kind of like the Twins today too. So, yeah, I mean it's pretty even.
Yeah, those are just that was a choice. In the outfield at 2,900, there's really not another $2,900 outfielder that fits in like the Nootbaar. If you had to pick Nootbaar or Gorman, Tim, which would be the one? They're both 2,900. You probably are going to end up playing one of those on FanDuel. You have a favorite?
If I had to pick one, it would definitely be Nootbaar. I think Nootbaar is a borderline. You should be playing Nootbaar in FanDuel Cash today.
All right, and Justin, if you had to pick Nootbaar or Gorman, you're a Gorman hater. So
I mean, well, in cash games, I think I'd lean towards Nootbaar because he doesn't strike out quite as much. But yeah, in tournaments, I'd probably go with Gorman, but it's close.
And then
Justin's just a Cardinal hater. He said he wouldn't build a Cardinal stack until the first 50.
I am definitely not as high as Tim. That's for sure.
If you have a Reds, I think mine for the price, it's just hard because if you're using one of the expensive pitchers on FanDuel today, it's really hard to get to the Judge tier today. It's very hard to do that. So you have like the 3,500 to 4,000 tier with guys like Buxton and Stanton you can get to, and maybe a Soto, guys like that. So I'm not really finding myself with a lot of Ellie De La Cruz. The one guy I'm entertaining from the Reds is Marte at 3,200. Tim, what are we doing there? I mean, in a lot of ways, he's been playing really well. I think 3,200 is probably a little bit too low for him, given the matchup, but it's 3,200 for him, or 3,100 for a Roman Anthony, or 3,300 for a Jarren Duran, or we've got one of the a $2,900 Nootbaar. A little harder for me to fit in, but if I had one, he would be probably my favorite at the price point. Do you have anything from the Red side?
Not really. The Reds, I don't really like them from a cash game perspective much at all. I'm trying to see here what I got for them in Sims. Very, very little. They're like a bottom 5 stack in Sims right now in terms of team exposure. Maybe some one-offs here and there are obviously fine. Getting to Ellie, I guess. I mean, you can always play Ellie as a one-off, but this stack in particular, I'm really not on today at all. So I'm pretty much off Cincinnati.
All right. And then Justin, real quick, anything from Cincinnati for you?
I do like Marte a good bit. Again, I don't think anybody from this game is an absolute gotta throw him in there, but if I were ranking the Cincinnati bats, I'd probably put Marte ahead of Ellie at that salary. Palante also tends to be a little reverse splits at times, so I don't mind the righties. Hayes, but they're the only one that stands out price-wise for me was Marte. So he would be the one guy.
All right. So that's going to cover our FanDuel only specific for those of you playing on the 12-10 game. At least, Justin, it was a game that was interesting so that we had something to talk about instead of some game we wanted to play absolutely nobody from, because that would have been a really pointless.
Yeah, that would have been a little strange. Again, it still seems like that game is a little less exciting than what they usually did with putting the Coors games on the slate. So I'm still not sure why they did it, but hey, here we are.
All right. So we've exited the FanDuel specific portion of the show, and let's jump into regular starting pitching today. So at the top, you've got a pretty big choice today between Skubal, who maybe instead of a higher percentage chance of rain risk has a very minimal chance of rain risk, according to Roth now with that weather game. That game downgraded to yellow. He is a little bit more expensive. On FanDuel, you'll probably want to just find $400. I think it's $600 on Draftkings. So it becomes a little bit more meaningful there, especially if you're trying to get Judge or a Stanton in against Martin Perez, something like that. how are you breaking down the matchups between these two? If you look at SimLabs is telling you to play all the Scooble and play none of the Hunter Brown.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not taking a super bold stance on it. I think Scooble is going to project as the safe guy. You look at his strikeout rate, his walk rate. I'm not arguing that Scooble is not the best pitcher in the league, but you look at the numbers. The Royals are one of the lowest strikeout teams in the league. The Angels are the highest strikeout team in the league against pitchers from both hands. We saw Arrighetti finally broke out last night and got 8, I think, strikeouts against the Angels. So Hunter Brown in a neutral matchup, I'd put Scooble ahead of Hunter Brown, no question. But with Scooble facing a low strikeout team, something of a weather concern, even if it's low risk now, something of a concern against a low strikeout team versus Brown facing a team that strikes out at a 8 or 9% higher clip. I think that's enough to push Brown ahead of Scooble for me in tournaments. I think, the projections have them at very similar ownership. I think just because of the name value, assuming the weather holds, that Scooble would be slightly higher. But who knows? I could be wrong there. I just think that in terms of today's spot with the matchups, I think Hunter Brown has access to more ceiling today. Lost to the Rockies in his last start, but he didn't pitch poorly. It was bad defense. He had no walks, 7 Ks, so he's fine. His strikeout rate is around 30% for the year. So, yeah, I'm in GPPs. I'm going Brown over Scooble. In cash games, I'm probably going Scooble. But they're both fine. Like, this is splitting hairs.
What do you got, Tim? If you're picking between the two from your perspective,
if I'm picking between the two, I'm probably still going to go Scooble, but it's super, super close. Like everything that Justin says is absolutely correct. Hunter Brown's got the better strikeout matchup by a ton. I just think Scooble is just a little bit more elite than Hunter Brown, so I'm willing to pay that $600 premium on DraftKings. Really, though, you should be trying to get to both today in cash games. I think that there's enough value there that you can really play both. And, we'll talk about it, but I don't think SB2 is fantastic today. So I think you're leaving quite a few raw points on the board by not going after the double spend up here in cash. So they're both fantastic. Like Justin said, we're really splitting hairs here. So, but I mean, if I had to pick one, it would be Scooble.
What's your target score? If you're spending both of your premium pitchers, what do you need? To me, that's like you're asking. You almost need like 60 out of the combined. Maybe a little less. Maybe like a 56 or something like that.
That was my number actually, Britt, was 60. I think you're going to need 60 out of them today, and I think with Hunter Brown's strikeout matchup and just the utter dominance of Scooble, I think that's like absolutely in play here. So it's. We'll talk about some of the stacks. There's enough value here today. I mean, I'm looking at it right now in Sims. I'm looking at it in Lineup HQ. It's pretty easy to do. So I think you're kind of doing yourself a disservice if you're not double spending up today.
All right, we'll get to that one. And I'm a little undecided between Brown or Scooble personally, and then also kind of doing what Tim's suggesting is, trying to get both of them in. Then you're not playing the Judges, the Stantons, and some of the other high-end bats today. So we'll see what that is. All right, so that's the top of the pitching tier. Let's go with the rest, Justin, because after that, there's nothing standing out. There's no SB2 you really want to play for a variety of reasons. You've got Senga, who, in theory, if everything was going well, would probably be it. He's cheap enough, but the Marlins are a pretty tough out right now, and his recent form is not great. There's way too many walks in his arsenal at the moment. It could come together in a good start against him. The price tag is reflecting his recent starts being not great, but he looks like he's close to being the preferred SB2. You've got Seymour, whose pitch count is probably, 75-ish max, something like that. He pitched well in his last game. There's not a huge history of being a very high strikeout guy, but against Washington, who can't hit lefties, seems like that's pretty good. Giolito had a good outing last time out, but I don't know if I'm buying that. Scherzer can be hit or miss, not the Scherzer of a couple of years ago. Gill, again, too many walks for him. Woodruff pitch count. Ryan, tough matchup. I mean, I don't know. Break this down for us.
Yeah, you can poke a hole in everybody. So, I mean, just know that nothing's going to be perfect. Thus, Tim's argument to spend top dollar for two guys, which I think is certainly a path you can take. And if you just look at the numbers, like, okay, you can look and see, okay, Washington, not good. Their best hitters are left-handed. And you can say, okay, in his first handful of MLB outings, Seymour has a 30% K rate. Don't get fooled by that. Seymour's fastball tops at 91. So he's not blowing the ball by guys. He's not going to keep a 29% K rate. I think he's fine. Particularly if you want to go a little bit cheaper, like he's 6.8K on DraftKings. So if you want a cheap SP2, Seymour, despite the pitch count limitation of 75-ish probably, I think you can use him. Senga is probably hitting the optimals right now just because he's only 7.4K on DraftKings. I think the Marlins are hitting a little bit above their heads, especially with Kyle Stowers out. So if he can not walk a bunch of guys, which is a big if, I think Senga is fine as your SP2. And then another guy that, look, I know he's been awful, but Bryce Miller is only $5,500. And if you are trying to fit high-end stacks in today with an ace, it's not like you can't just play Scooball and Aaron Judge and all the Yankees. Like, that's not going to work unless you really sacrifice somewhere. So Bryce Miller at 5,500 is the definition of sacrificing somewhere because he's at 5.5K. He's like half of a Scooball. And I mean, it's not like haven't seen success from him before. He's just been terrible this year, limited sample. He's been injured. And because there's flaws in all these SP2s, if I'm going in here, might as well just completely go to the cheap guy, and that at least frees up more money for bats. Like if you sort our projections by point per dollar for pitcher, Bryce Miller's number one. This isn't some ringing endorsement for Bryce Miller. It's just hey, he's 5,500 and maybe it works. So
yeah, kind of my thinking too here. Tim, if you had to pick from the SP2, I think SimLabs is right within, at least in terms of the ownership here, between Seymour and Senga. Do you have a preference between those two as like the cheaper end SP2 that's going to be popular?
Yeah, Senga versus Seymour, I would definitely take Senga at 7,400. He's only $600 more. I think Seymour has pretty significant, pitch count restrictions, whereas Senga doesn't really have that. They're pretty close to the same price. So, I mean, I know that the matchup is better for Seymour, but I would prefer Senga at 7,400. And if I was looking to go down for an SP2, Senga would be the guy for me. I don't mind Brad Lord as like a single entry GPP spend out, but I don't want to play him in cash games. I do like the Bryce Miller call a ton, but again, I don't think I'd play him in cash games. He would just be a single entry or GPP pitcher for me. But yeah, Lord, Miller, Seymour are all great. I would prefer Senga over all those guys in any format. It's a pretty bad matchup for Joe Ryan, but it's a pretty decent matchup for Lucas Giolito. So I think he's worth being in the pool, at least if you're building out 10 or more teams. I think Giolito deserves to be in the pool today. Joe Ryan, for me, I know he's an ace and can, hit a ceiling anytime, but he would be an exclude button for me today. Max Scherzer, he's a tough click today against the Brewers. I don't really have any interest there. So it's really just Senga and those other cheap guys that I mentioned with a little bit of sprinkle of Lucas Giolito.
Someone in chat brought up Alcantara, and I was looking at this too. His past, he's turning back into Alcantara, I think, Justin, where it took him 3/4 of a season to basically get there. That guy who goes 6-7 innings. He's over, I think one of his games, he was over 110 pitches. You don't really ever see that in baseball anymore. But it's against these red hot Mets today. Is that something, the recent performance, the strikeouts, everything's looking better for him. Is that something you'd want to risk against this red hot Mets team?
Yeah, so it looks better, but better for Alcantara in terms of strikeouts is still not necessarily elite. Like this month, 4.22 ERA, 32 Ks and 32 innings. Like that's about what his best is going to be at this point. A strikeout per inning. So yeah, maybe he goes 6 innings, with 6 Ks and 2 or 3 runs, which is, maybe that's enough on this slate. But you look at what the Mets have done over the last 2 weeks. They lead the league in WOBA by almost 40 points. Like, it's crazy. After months of waiting for, Soto to break out, he had 2 bombs yesterday. Just everybody in the Mets order is kind of heating up at the same time. So, I think I'm out on Alcantara today. There's just the offense has the talent, and they're locked in right now.
Yeah, you mentioned Soto, right? Like, you would, if you just thinking Soto's had a really disappointing season, right? But it's like 35 home runs, but it's the 254 average, the 84 ribbies. I mean, he might hit 40 home runs, which is like a really good season. But that's
somehow like 30 of those 35 homers have been solo homers or something. That's maybe not quite 30, but a lot.
Just hasn't. I think the Mets are probably happy with spending him all that money, but just not the exact top tier season. It took him a while. If you look at Soto too, to start the season, literally every start to the season he has is just horrible. You don't want to play him for like a couple of weeks in DFS. And that always seems to keep him down. And
if you at the beginning of the season, I think most people probably would have guessed that like the Mets and the Dodgers would be the best 2 teams in the National League, and they'd be getting the buys in the playoffs. But if you look at the standings right now, of course, the buys are going to the Phillies and the Brewers, and the Mets and Dodgers would actually be a wild card series. They'd be facing each other. So it will be interesting to see if that holds. But if it does, one of those teams isn't even making the divisional round, which with, $11 billion of payroll that those 2 teams have combined is kind of funny.
All right. And then, Tim, I saw someone on some single entry pitchers. Maybe give me 4 guys that would be in the mix for you today.
Well, it's the 2 spend ups for sure, Brown and Skubal.
Would you do both in a single entry tournament, or would you want upside from bats?
No, I would you could definitely do both in single entry. That's what I'm planning on doing today, is double spending up. So, and then if you want something in the mid range, it's Senga. It's Brad Lord. I think you could take shots on. Ian Seymour, Bryce Miller. Do we have any interest in Jose Siriano? We had a question in chat. He would not make my first 10 teams. I don't even know if he would make any of my first 20. What do you guys think about that? It's
the Astros, Justin, right? And they can go 0 for the entire game, or they can,
I am so done with Houston. I'm tired of talking about them. Tired of trying to figure them out. Like, I don't want to play Houston bats today. I don't want to play Soriano. I just don't want to deal with it. I could see Soriano as like a deep tournament play. That'd be an MME.
When he's on, I mean, he had 25 DraftKings points, 27, 23, 20, 30, 33. I mean, at 6,600, yeah, for sure for a tournament.
I'm not going to argue against that.
Yeah, he has the upside to compete with even the higher tier guys today. It's just
for what it's worth, if you run our optimals on DraftKings right now, it does have the double spend up with Brown and Skubal with. I mean, the bats look really, really ugly.
Yeah.
But that's what it has right now.
All right. So that's some offense or some pitchers. Let's go to offense in general. I'll stick with you here, Justin, real quick. So we've got teams. Let me get this over for everyone. Yankees, right, against Martin Perez. The problem is some of the lefties aren't really usable against Perez. And then guys like Ahmed Rosario, as soon as a righty comes in, he turns into Ryan McMahon probably today. So maybe 2 or 3 at bats from him. Tough to use him, but a Judge, a Stanton, a Goldschmidt, these guys are going to be staples of a lot of people's teams today. You've got the Rays as well, going up against Mitch Keller, who's not. Oh no, he's not.
Yeah, Red Sox are facing Keller.
Yeah, so
Rays are facing Brad Lord.
Yeah, so like Lord's not bad. He's not great, but he's not like a pitcher I want to like put a lot of my stacks against today. I think it's the bullpen you want, which you do get. We'll get a few innings against that, but I think Lord's been reasonably good, and I know Tim was on him as a deeper tournament play today. The Red Sox, I think you're very underweight the Red Sox based on your article this morning. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. But what's your preference here at the top? Mine's clearly the Yankees.
Yeah, definitely the Yankees if you've got the money to spend, particularly the righties. Perez is pretty traditional splits for a lefty. So the Yankees righties are my top spot. I am underweight the Red Sox. Like, you can look at Mitch Keller, and yeah, Mitch Keller's 6-12. But the Pirates don't score runs for any of their pitchers. So, don't even put any stock in the fact that he's 6-12, but his ERA is around 4, his Sierra's around 4. He doesn't walk a lot of guys. Like, Mitch Keller's a perfectly fine, slightly above average major league pitcher. And all these Boston bats now, like, you got Duran, Bregman is back, and you've got Roman Anthony, his price is all the way up. So I just don't feel like spending top dollar for Boston in this matchup. Maybe I'm respecting Keller too much, but that doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm underweight Boston. I'm pretty neutral on Tampa, but the teams I'm overweight on are the Yankees. And then just because the Mets have been so hot, I like the Mets. I think if you're looking for something a little bit sneakier, I think the Twins are in play. That's a team that, their offense has got a bunch of young guys now. They're pretty cheap. The Padres are going with like a bullpen approach today. Not completely punting the game, but we don't really know what they're throwing out there. So I think you could consider the Tigers as well as a sneakier team. But the Yankees, Mets, and Twins are probably the teams I'm the most overweight on today.
What do you like, Tim? Especially if you're doing double premium, how are you making that work? What would be like your team to target if you're doing that?
You brought them up really briefly at the beginning of the show, but Minnesota is a team that I'm getting a ton of, both in Sims, Lineup HQ. I love the value today. It's going to be kind of a hodgepodge here. I think it's going to be David Morgan to start, and then is it Hart that we have projected? Mm-hmm. Kyle Hart as the projected long reliever. So the Twins have a 4.37 implied team total, which is not horrible on the slate. Like, obviously the Yankees and the Mets are in fantastic spots here today, but I can't get to a lot of Yankees. You can double spend up and play Judge in cash games. It gets a little bit ugly. Personally, I might fade Aaron Judge today, just everywhere. I will say that it's a lot easier to play who you want on FanDuel. The Yankees are a lot cheaper over on FanDuel. Like, Paul Goldschmidt is really cheap over there. So it's a lot easier to play the guys that you want over on FanDuel. But I am getting, if you put in Brown and Skubal in lineup HQ, you can get to Goldschmidt, you can get to Judge still, even in cash games. So it's definitely fine either way. And then I don't mind getting to some of the Guardians. The Guardians are really, really cheap today. I know that we talked about Bryce Miller. One of the reasons why I don't like Bryce Miller in cash games is because I want to play some of these Guardians. So like guys like Schneemann, Manzardo, Nolan Jones. Like, I know those are pretty ugly names, but they're really cheap today, and I don't think they're in a horrible spot. So I do like the Guardians quite a bit. I'm not really sure what to do with the Mets. Like, they have been on fire, like Justin covered in his article today. They've been fantastic. But I think they're going to get a little bit of ownership, and I think I'm going to be staying away from the Mets today. So I kind of they're pretty pricey, and I don't think the matchup is fantastic. So I think I'm going to skip on them. But the Guardians and the Twins, and maybe even some of the Pirates against Giolito, I think are okay value stacks today.
All right, so there's a couple teams to target if you're trying to build a couple of stacks. We'll jump into some position by position stuff right now. Let's bring some of that up here. We did cut pitchers. Let's go to catchers, where I don't know. There's literally nobody I want to use a catcher today, Justin. There's no good play. There's no one that's like a good price play, in my opinion, today. It's just like the cheapest guy. You've got Henry Davis against Giolito, but what's he, a 172 average on the season for him? He's just cheap. I mean, it's just, catchers can be bad, but this might be one of the worst I've seen all year.
Yeah, and it's going to be a theme. There's not a lot of greatness at all the positions today because there's a lot of decent but not spectacular pitchers. Like, you look at guys like Woodruff and Max Scherzer and Tanner Bybee and Alcantara and, a lot of guys, Soriano, and not a lot of guys that you want to just go out and pick on. We didn't talk about rostering a lot of these guys as pitchers, but they're also just not complete gas cans. So it's going to be a common theme at a lot of the positions that there's just not a lot of depth, not a lot of, 9 or 10 guys you could consider at the position. Catcher is obvious as one of the weaker positions. If we assume that the lefty is getting the bulk of the innings for the Padres, Jeffers, I think, is fine. Like Morgan's going to start, but he's just an opener. From everything I've read, it sounds like the lefty is going to get the bulk innings. Kid, that's name is escaping me at the moment. I knew
Kyle Hart.
Kyle Hart, that's it. Knew it earlier and couldn't think of it just there. But if he gets most of the innings, I think Jeffers is fine at 3,600 on DK. Optimal is putting Fiducia from the Rays in there. He's not a very good hitter, but he's hitting 7th, and Tampa's projected for 4.5 runs, and he's 2,500. So that just goes to show you that since catcher stinks today, you could use him. Like Riley Adams is hitting 3rd for Washington, which is a little bit strange. Probably not getting all the way up to Raleigh today. It just obviously he's got the upside, but your salary is going to be somewhat restricted today. Like if you're paying up for a bat in the 6Ks today or in that range, it should be Aaron Judge. So probably not getting to Raleigh. So I suppose it's Jeffers or a punt, basically. I mean, catcher stinks today.
What do you like, Tim? Like if you're doing double premium, you need a cheap catcher. Which one's your favorite?
Yeah, if you're going to go double premium today, you're not going to like catcher. Catcher, like Justin said, is incredibly weak today. It's probably Henry Davis at 2,400. I think Riley Adams is fine at 3K. If you have the 3,600, Ryan Jeffers would be my favorite point per dollar catcher, just because I'm really high on Minnesota. I think that Jake Rogers is okay as part of like a two-man or 3-man Tiger stack. I don't want any full 5-mans of Detroit, but getting to pieces here and there I think is okay. So Jake Rogers is all right. But I'm not spending up a catcher today in any format. Like I know the big dumper is fantastic, but I'm just not paying that price tag today.
Yeah.
Ben Rice at 5K batting 8th. Like, yeah, I mean it's great, but I'm just not going to be doing that.
All right, let's go to first base. I think most people and most builds, I think even if you go double premium, and we'll confirm with Tim in a little bit, are probably going to play Paul Goldschmidt leading off for the Yankees against Martin Perez. There's a couple other options, Justin. Goldschmidt's the guy. I think you would probably even say that as well. What else would you be doing here?
Yeah, I mean, Goldschmidt's kind of faded in the last couple of months, but still really good career splits against lefties. He's been adequate enough against lefties the last couple of years that at that salary, he's under 3K on FanDuel, 3,800 on Draftkings. He's the optimal play at first base. You can go cheap here too. I mean, Bob Seymour is projecting well because he's in the lineup today. The Rays got some of their cheaper guys in there. Yandy Diaz isn't in the lineup today. So Seymour, if you're looking for a punt, but I'd try to get up to Goldschmidt. Maybe Kyle Manzardo or Cody Clemens in that range if you're looking for a GPP pivot. We know Miller has struggled, and I'm on him as a punt SP2 if you need it. But Manzardo's got good power against righties. Clemens has shown power at times as well for the Twins, hitting 5th today, and he's down to 2.9K. So Nathaniel Lowe for Boston, another guy you could maybe put in that GPP mix. But yeah, Goldschmidt feels like the optimal play today. Wouldn't spend in a single entry lineup by any means. Like if I was looking to spend, it would be Alonso probably, or Torkelson. Wacha's kind of reverse splits, so I think you could look at Torkelson in a GPP, but prefer that as part of a Detroit stack. Goldschmidt's clearly the optimal here.
Yeah, Tim. So there's like first base. There's a lot of cheap. Goldschmidt's the top of the cheap tier. Is he one of your main targets, or are you going even cheaper for the double premium?
If you're going double premium today, I think it's pretty easy to play Paul Goldschmidt in cash and in any kind of GPP. I think he's clearly the guy for that. If you're looking for a pivot, Kyle Manzardo is my favorite pivot here. Another guy that is not projecting well, but Cody Clemens at 2,900. He's like I said, he's not projecting very well, but I think he's a really strong play today. Again, gives you access to that double premium spend up at pitching. Nathaniel Local, I think, is fantastic at 3,900. Even like Christian Walker, I think, is a pretty decent play in GPPs. But Paul Goldschmidt, he's definitely the guy in optimal type builds.
All right, let's go to second base. What are we finding here, Justin? Med Rosario for the cheap tiers. I would imagine Tim's probably looking at someone like that. I just worry after 2 at bats, maybe 3, he turns into Ryan McMahon today. It's a pretty easy swap for him if a righty comes in with that here. What are you doing with Rosario in regards to that? Do you find yourself looking up for one of the more expensive options like a Brandon Lau, or are you somewhere in the mid tier today? You can get Terang, a lefty, versus Scherzer. The lefties are still giving Scherzer trouble all season. A couple other cheap guys as well.
Yeah, I think you can make a case that Brandon Lau's the best hitter on the slate when you factor in the position. Like, second base is not all that exciting, really, ever. You've got a underwhelming starter. We know Washington has a bad bullpen. Lau has really good batted ball splits, both WOBA and ISO against righties. Hitting second for Tampa, a team that's projected to get some runs today. That total's come down with their lineup construction a little bit, but I think I'd put Lau in like a 1A, 1B with Aaron Judge as far as the priority of hitters I want to spend on today. Lau getting the bump only because of second base position. Like, if Judge was a second baseman, then obviously we'd want to put him there, but he's not, and you got to play a second baseman. So Lau is my favorite if I can get there. Jeff McNeil's been hitting really well and is 3,800 on DraftKings. So I don't mind Jeff McNeil as kind of more of a mid-range play. But if I'm between like Lau and Altuve and Chisholm at the top, it's definitely Lau today, and I'm going to try to get him.
What do you like doing here, Tim? Especially, I guess I'm leaning on you for what do your lineups look like if you're using both Skubal and Brown today?
Yeah, second base is really quite bad today. It's a pretty tough position to fill in any format. I don't think I'm not gonna have the salary for Lau or Jazz. The bat really wants to play Bryce Terang at second. That's completely fine. Again, don't think I'm going to do that. I think I might just play Nick Gonzalez batting cleanup at 3,100. I know it's not it's not great to pick on, not great to roster Pirates really, but I think given how weak this position is, I think it's okay to just punt it with Nick Gonzalez at 3,100. Like you said, though, I would like to play Ahmad Rosario, but I think you're right that he's just going to turn into Ryan McMahon. So I'm just going to stay away from that potential trap. I don't mind Jeff McNeil in GPPs. I think he's cheap enough where you could definitely play him. But really, this position's awful. So I think I'm just going to go Gonzalez in cash or maybe even in my single entry team.
All right. So there's some quick second base thoughts. Let's go to third. Again, you have Rosario, I think, a second, third on DraftKings. You've got Schneemann as well, another cheap player here. Colt Keith, or Josh Young yesterday. I mean, that was a very decisive victory for Josh Young over Colt Keith. I think we got that in at the end of the show for you yesterday there. You've got Triolo hitting leadoff, just another position where it seems like the cheap guys are the priority cards. I mean, I don't really see myself, piling in Jose Ramirez today. I mean, he is just 5,600, which is a reasonable price, but it's just not really working out for me.
Yeah, I'm not sure how, but Triolo's hitting 333 with a 931 OPS in August. Again, I don't really know where this came from. He was never a guy that was like a big hit guy. Like, before he went on the IL in July, he was hitting 158. Now his average is up to 226 with this surge. It's basically been all of August. He scored 3 runs yesterday. It shocks me, but he's in our optimals right now as well. And the position is a barren wasteland. Like, I think Caminero is great, but I'm not going to pretend like I just said Lau and Judge are the priority spends. Like, you don't have the salary to get Lau and Judge and Caminero, and if you're spending on one of the top pitchers today, so Caminero falls down the list simply because you probably don't have the salary to get him. So I think Colt Keith is fine again if you're looking for a cheaper guy. Mark Vientos keeps on hitting, and Triolo, and those guys are all cheap. Like Keith and Vientos and Triolo are all within $300 of each other on DraftKings. Projections like Schneemann a good bit too for Cleveland hitting second. So that's probably where you got to go at third base today. You're just not going to have the salary, or it's not a priority to spend up at this position as much as it is some others. So I think it's a definite that you go cheap. What do I have a preference between Triolo, Vientos, Keith? Not really. I do like Vientos and Met stacks. Projections like Triolo, you can kind of close your eyes and pick among those 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, Tim, I'm going to imagine you're probably on Triolo. Triolo and Schneemann are probably both in the double premium lineups today for the most part. 2 guys you got to have. They're both position, multi-position eligibility. You can move them around on DraftKings.
Yeah, or Colt Keith, or Royce Lewis as part of a Minnesota stack. I really like Royce Lewis. He's not going to be in my cash game, but he is going to be in my single entry team, where I'm going to be stacking Twins. So, yes, this position is bad, but I think you do have some competent salary saving options here. The other one that I'd like to add that's even cheaper, and we haven't talked about the White Sox much, but Curtis Mead at 2,400. He'll has such a high walk rate. I mean, if he struggles at all with his command, it goes horribly wrong. I think he has like a 16% walk rate so far this year, and his control can just be so bad. So I think getting to some of these cheap White Sox isn't horrible. So Curtis Mead at 24, part of that White Sox stack, I think is okay as well.
It seems like the theme at third base, scroll down towards the bottom half of it and find someone you're interested in playing. Shortstop, again, probably another position. Triolo's 3,200. You look at the top, are we going to be playing Bobby Witt against Tariq Skubal? No. Are we going to play CJ Abrams, lefty-lefty? No. You've got Lindor against Alcantara, but, he's still 5,400. Pena against Soriano, not interested in that. I don't know. It'd probably be Lindor up towards the top for me, but this is just another position cards. We've said this a lot. I'm prioritizing Aaron Judge as a bet. I'm even prioritizing Stanton, and somehow almost hitting 300 with power so far this season. I'm prioritizing those bats against Martin Perez. So I'm just not finding myself spending up at shortstop.
Yeah, if you're on DraftKings, you can play Triolo here. So and you can play a couple of those cheaper third basemen. You can play one at third and Triolo at short. But most of the spend ups have those tougher matchups today. Like you mentioned, you're not playing Abrams lefty. I'm taking a break from Houston today, so I'm not playing Pena. Zach Neto against Hunter Brown, Story even against Keller, I don't think is a priority. So Bobby Witt against Skubal, all those elite shortstops that we like to target most nights. They all have tough matchups today with the exception of maybe Lindor. So if you have the salary to spend there, I think Lindor is your guy. But again, another spot where you can go cheap. Even Colson Montgomery hitting cleanup against Luis Gil, I think is okay. Triolo, we already talked about. Volpe's been at least somewhat competent the last week or so, and he's down to 3,500. Brooks Lee, we talked about at the beginning of the show for FanDuel. He's 3,300 on DK. I think you can play Brooks Lee on DK as well there. So feels weird for shortstop to be a cheap position, but I think it is today, probably among Volpe, Montgomery, Brooks Lee for who your favorite cheap guy is.
Yeah, probably Triolo, Brooks Lee. Those are probably the guys I'm looking at here, Tim.
Those are the 3 that I'd be looking at as well. I think I'm going to be going with Brooks Lee everywhere. I don't know if Justin mentioned Colson Montgomery, but I do like him in GPPs at 3,900. But Brooks Lee is probably the guy today. The bat really wants us to play Jared Triolo. That's completely fine. I just don't want to play too many Pirates in cash, and I already know that I'm going to play Henry Davis and Nick Gonzalez. So I don't know if I'm going to play Triolo or not. I don't really want to play 3 in cash. So I might.
What could go wrong?
All right, exactly. Like I'm just not that brave. But yeah, I mean, Triolo's obviously rates out very well. But any of these spend ups. I see some people talking about Lindor in GPPs. Like, yeah, that's fine, but I can't really spend up at short today.
Yeah, you're probably, if Lindor's on your team, you're probably not double spending up at pitcher today with Brown and Tariq Skubal is how I'd break that down pretty easily. Before we get to outfield, if you guys click like, we'll get Roscoe's Rockets, Tim's Taters, Britt's Bets. We'll see if Justin has anything for us out there in the world today too. But if you can click the like button, there's no TJ here for the Spidey Bombs, but we'll come up with something for you guys. We would appreciate it. All right, final position, Justin, outfield. This is where I'm basically spending money today, right? There is just a plethora of good options in my opinion today, with Judge and Stanton probably being my 2 favorite. I want exposure to the Yankees righties. This looks like a good spot to get it today. You have the red hot Mets and Juan Soto, even against Alcantara, who's pitching better. Soto's always going to give you something with the ability to have monster games. So he's certainly in there too. I know you're down on the Red Sox, but maybe you can answer this. You're probably, I think a lot of people are playing one of Duran or Anthony, if not both. Do you have a favorite between those two? What do you like here at the top?
Yeah, I'm not playing either of the Boston guys. I mean, I'd probably choose Duran if I had to, but I'm just they're pricey. Anthony's in our optimal right now, so I know that's not a lot of clarity. I'm not playing Boston. I'd take Duran. Optimal's got Anthony. Whatever that does for you, I would play Judge, clearly number 1. I'd probably play Soto with the way he's been hitting over both of those Boston guys too. I probably think of in GPPs, I consider Buxton. I mean, I know Tim likes the Twins too, so he won't be as highly owned as Judge or Stanton or Soto. So Boston is the spot that I'm underweight on, and Yordan Alvarez, because I'm not playing in Houston today. So Judge or Soto at the top, probably. If I had to spend, Nimmo in the mid-range, I think is fine. Yoshida's probably the one Boston guy I would consider, simply because if you need a punt, you're probably going to have to go cheap maybe with one of your outfield spots. I think I'd probably give Yoshida a look. Those are a few of my top ones. I'll let Tim go.
All right, so Tim, is your most expensive outfielder $3,300 and below on DraftKings? If you're using double premium, who's like I don't know if you want to tell me the exact guy, but like, what's your price tier of your highest outfielder if you are going double premium at pitcher today?
I mean, you can play, you can still play Aaron Judge.
So you're still doing that with 2 cheapies?
That's what I'm thinking right now. Yeah. It's pretty, you can do it. It's kind of ugly, but that's what I'm going to try and do today. It's going to play double spend up and go Judge. In GPPs and single entry, I'm going to go Byron Buxton with my twin stack. So I absolutely love Buxton today. He's like my quote unquote like favorite, like, non-optimal spend up outfielder. He's projecting for 6% right now on DraftKings. So I do really like Buxton a ton. I'm like Justin. I'm kind of underweight on the Red Sox, but Duran and Anthony are both projecting fantastic. So you can obviously play them. I think Yelich is an interesting one-off today as well at 4,700. Nolan, and then going down to like the bottom here, like Nolan Jones at 2,400. I think he's an okay play. Mike Topman at 3,700. Tommy Pham at 31. Schneemann is outfield eligible also, so I think that's an interesting play that if you need him, he's there. So Yoshida at 3K is okay, but I would prefer just going a little bit lower to Nolan Jones.
I like What about Quan? 3,300 leadoff today?
Yeah, that's okay. Like I usually can't stand playing Quan, but I feel like he's usually more expensive. So 3,300 is okay for
Yeah,
him.
he's
So I don't
like a
I don't
4K
mind
back.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3,300. He's
exactly.
coming on
3,300 is completely fine for him. I don't even usually even consider him for anything.
Yeah, me neither. But the 30, I saw the $3,300 price tag today, and it has me honestly pretty interested in him as one of like the cheapy plays. Taukman's the other guy too. What did you say his price was? He's 3,700.
37. He's not for cash games, but I mean, I don't really mind the White Sox today, so I think he'd be okay as part of a stack. We do have a question in chat: Yelich or Rosarina? I would go Yelich personally in that 1v1.
Yeah, I think I would play Yelich too. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, I would play Yelich among those two myself.
You have a favorite, Justin? If you have to go cheap, I can pull up maybe who's going to be optimal. You know, there's Quan, there's Nolan Jones, Schneemann, but you're probably playing Schneemann elsewhere.
Yeah, I don't mind. I like the Quan call at that salary. I mean, Quan is fine. It'd be Quan or Yoshida probably.
Yeah, those would probably be the guys I'd be looking at. All right, I think we handled just about all the baseball talk from our end. We're going to take some questions. Now, lock is in until 105. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take some questions. If the questions run out, we'll see if we have a couple of bets for you. If any more questions come in, we'll answer them. If not, we're going to get on out of here. So I'm going to go to YouTube. You can also go into the RotoGrinders live stream chat. Let me pull that up myself to see what's been going on in there. Don't see anything in there yet, but I've got both open here. So Sheets or Quan is a GPP one-off. You know, we just mentioned Quan. Quan is more, I guess for me, Quan's more of like not a lot of tournament upside, but if there is, today's probably one of the reasonably good spots for him today. You know, with the splits advantage there today. Tim, who would you rather have, Sheets or Quan?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'd rather have Quan.
Yeah, I'm not playing Sheets at all today.
Yeah, I don't think Sheets against Joe Ryan is probably not the spot I want to go. So I think Quan would absolutely be my one from an upside perspective here. Falcor wants to know, this is in the Discord. Tim, I'll throw this to you. It's FanDuel single entry. So think about it for a second. Brown or Gill? Obviously, Gill gets you a lot more bats that you want today. Is that worth going off of? You know, in single entry, would you even think about not picking Brown or Skubal today?
Honestly, I wouldn't, and I certainly wouldn't go heel. So, yeah, I would just do the spend up pitcher.
Who would be, if you're wanted to save every dollar at pitcher today, who would be like your third pick on FanDuel if it's not
on
Skubal?
FanDuel? Yeah. It'd be Senga or Singer for me.
Well, Singer's already started.
Singer's done.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot all about that. So Senga definitely then.
Senga,
yeah.
All right.
I guess Brad Lord would be okay, but he's just so risky. So I would go Senga at 89.
Let's see here. Anthony 3,100 on FanDuel. Would he be a play over Stan at 3,700? So I would tell you to play both of them on FanDuel. That's what I have done personally today. If I just couldn't get to Judge with one of the premium pitchers today. So Stanton's sort of my consolation prize over there. Would you, if you were just picking one of those, Justin, you're down on the Red Sox. Are you up on Stanton enough to make that $600 concession?
No, I would play Stanton. Yeah, I mean, I'd play Stanton at 600 more.
All right, so there's Justin's take on that one. Let's see. Let me go back to YouTube. $2,900 a DraftKings second baseman. So that's what Schneemann's 2,900. Is he second third or is he second short? He's second third, right?
He's short outfield, I think. I don't think Schneemann is second base on DraftKings.
He's not. He's not.
So what do we got for 2,900 and below over there?
That's really
there's not
really
much
bad.
There.
Gonzalez at 3,100.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that would probably be the play to make, right, Tim?
That is what I would do. I really don't see anybody that I honestly would click.
Yeah, I would find somehow to get $200 extra and get to a Gonzalez or a Rosario's 3,200.
Yeah, there's nobody
you're
even
just,
rosterable down.
yeah, at that low at second base. You're gonna have to switch something around probably. Let's go back to YouTube. Martin Perez, is he going to shut down the Yankees? Hopefully not for my lineups today. Is there the soft tossers? I don't know. They can be the Miles Michaelis experience, right? Where how did he have a good game? It's just 5 innings pitched, all hard contact, but they.
I saw a stat this morning. The Cardinals actually beat the Reds last night without their pitchers striking a single batter out. The Reds did not strike out last night and did not win.
I didn't know that was possible.
I didn't either.
But your Cardinals.
I knew that I didn't see it. Like, I knew that the starter didn't strike anybody out, but I didn't realize that the bullpen didn't strike anybody out either until this morning. So,
Seymour is or isn't starting for the Rays. He is starting for the Rays. Is just his pitch count is like he's been right in those mid 60s to high 60s for a few games. So I would maybe expect what's a max, like an 80, but more likely probably like a mid 70s pitch count on him.
We have him. Last I looked, we had him at 75, and that's probably about right.
That seems about right. Let's see. Pham, this is on FanDuel. Pham and Sanchez on FanDuel. Tim, what do you think about those guys? You like your Pirates a little bit today? Is Pham someone you're targeting?
Pham is totally fine.
Yeah.
Pham's totally fine. Sanchez is okay. I mean, it's not my favorite, but I think that's fine.
Let's see a couple more. Let's see. Best low-owned stack with a low-owned pitcher combo. So cards. Give me a team on offense that people aren't rostering, and then maybe there's not a ton of pitchers, but give me, not one of the top 4 pitchers today that you'd be interested in.
I'd say Senga or Bryce Miller. Bryce Miller would be on DK if you're looking to get really creative, and he's super cheap. In terms of a stack that's a little more off the board, I would go with the Twins.
All right. I'm going to say Jose Soriano for sure. I think I talked myself into that at the first part of the show against the Astros. And as an offense today, give me... You said Minnesota, right? Didn't you, Cards, just now?
I did.
You did. Maybe Seattle. A little sneaky today. I think that could be pretty good. Tim, what would you be looking at?
They wanted one sneaky pitcher.
Yeah.
Brad Lord. And I'm going to stick with my Minnesota team. I know that Justin's on them as well, but I do like them, and they're not going to be chalky.
Yeah, I was going to say Minnesota too. So that was basically a sweep, but Minnesota as your offense to use here from the 3 of us. Let's get a couple more here. Jesus Sanchez or Addison Barger for a better outfield play, 4,100 or less, DK large field. So 4,100, I mean, there's a pretty wide range or less. At that particular price range, those are the 2 options. So I'll start with you, Tim, first here. If you have to pick between those 2, who would it be? I think I would probably find myself going down a tier to get salary elsewhere, though.
I would definitely go down a tier. If I had to pick between Barger and Sanchez, it would probably be Sanchez for me. But I would just go a little bit lower.
Yeah, a couple guys I think we can go lower on would be a Tauchman probably at 3,700. The aforementioned Stephen Kwan, we talked about him a little bit at 3,300. And there's a Yoshida at 3,000, probably a couple of the guys that you might be looking at to go down to tier in for that one. Wallner or Simpson for FanDuel cash. These guys aren't really on my...
Yeah, those guys aren't cash game plays.
Yeah, not what you need today. So what would we be doing today if you're in that price range? I'm gonna type in Wallner. He's...
I mean, Wallner's probably getting a lefty for bulk innings. He's got to be like around 3K.
Yeah, he's 3K. So like Roman Anthony, you might have him already, but he's someone I would play. What are a couple other options?
Yeah, I mean Josh Lowe is the same price. Jeff McNeil is 100 less. Let's see. Schneeman is 300 less. So I mean, I'd play all those guys over. I mean, Wallner's definitely not a cash game option today for sure. And I forgot who the other one even was.
Simpson.
Yeah, Simpson has no homers on the year. Like I know he can steal bases, but
yeah, and I like Lord too, like Tim does too. I'm a little off that a little bit today. Judge or Buxton? I mean, I know I like Buxton, and I'm playing Buxton on FanDuel at 3,700 because I can't get to Judge. Right, I'm doing Buxton and Stanton instead of Judge and a scrub. That's what was my strategy today. But like Tim, it's Aaron Judge today over Buxton, right?
Yeah, straight up in a cash game format, it's definitely Aaron Judge.
Yeah, but when you factor in salary, especially with the high price pitching today, the 3,700 on FanDuel for Buxton is really good, right, Tim? I'm on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm playing Buxton in my single entry team.
We've got J3 wants he's playing Quan just because I said aforementioned, so we got that one. Another Quan Slappy. Anyone in Milwaukee as a single entry stack? We haven't really, outside of Yelich, we didn't really mention too many of them. I think Terang is an interesting second base pick. He's 4,100. You want the lefties against Scherzer. Can we get on a full stack, Tim, for the Brewers as like a low? It's just Scherzer's not great, but I think he's like good enough where that's not where I'd want to put my money today.
Yeah, I don't really have any interest in a full stack of Milwaukee, but Terang and Yelich are definitely viable one-offs.
Yeah. Justin, would you stack up the Brewers today?
Yeah, I would not a full stack, but the lefty power I think is fine.
All right. NBA DFS, Tim, he's thinking the same thing you and I are. Henry Davis or Fiducia on DraftKings for your catcher today. This is what it's come to. Who you got down there? 24, 2,500. I'm basically staring at the exact same thing here.
Yeah, it's Davis for me.
If you had 300 extra, would you go to Quiero against Gill? Maybe you get a walk, something like that against him.
You can definitely. Yeah.
Is that if you had 300 and you couldn't find a better use for it, would you make that decision over Davis?
Yeah.
I'm asking for a friend.
Yeah, probably I would. Probably I would because Quero's batting 5th.
Yeah.
And Davis is 7th. So yeah, I probably would. I think
I did that too. I had 300 left. I just went to Quiero personally myself.
You're gonna be so bitter if Davis hits a home run.
Yeah, though it's like who's my nemesis has been Jonathan India all season long, and now it's gonna be Henry Davis today. He's gonna be my nemesis, so that's definitely gonna happen. All right, let's see. It seems like the YouTube questions. Newt Ball triple good because I think he had a good first at bat. Looking like my FanDuel team's doing pretty good here. I don't really see any questions. We'll see if we got any bets. Do we have a Roscoe Rocket or a Tim Tater for anybody today, Tim?
Mike Tauchman plus 650. I just got on DraftKings.
All right. Anything else you're looking at, or that's the one?
That
was it. Maybe if Justin could buy me like 60 seconds, I can find one more.
I'll buy you 60 seconds. I gave the college football pick last night with Miami, so obviously still like them. I actually like the underdogs today in college football, so there's 2 games, one at 7:30. That's Miami, but in the afternoon game, I do like Virginia Tech plus the points today as well. 2 teams that are returning their quarterbacks, which is pretty rare in college football these days, but it's a neutral site game. I think South Carolina is a bit overrated. Lots of turnover on defense. Virginia Tech has a returning dual threat quarterback that I think can give them some problems. And the spread, if you can get it, at last I checked on FanDuel, was still 7.5. That's obviously a big number in football if you can get it at 7.5 instead of 7 or 6.5. So I'd even buy the half a point if you got a site that allows you to pay a little more juice. But I think plus 7.5 for Virginia Tech against South Carolina this afternoon is a good line in college. So.
You mentioned that. I'm a little sad personally. This is just a rant. The NFL teasers, right? You do the 6-point teasers on the 2.5 or the 7.5, right? And you cross the 7 and the 6. And it used to be minus 120. It was only DraftKings last year, and even they changed it this year. So there's basically you can't bet the teasers anymore. And that was a big thing I did last year. Very disappointed in that. And I went to my local casino to try to do it, and it was worse than anything that was available online. I thought maybe the local one would it let me have an out or two, but no, they just stonewalled me on the teasers for football. So a little rant on that.
I did just hit Paul Goldschmidt at plus 475.
Oh, Goldschmidt.
Yep.
Oh, I like the first one. I guess if there's ever a power game for Goldschmidt, this is probably it, Tim. So I'll half get behind that one. I like him in DFS more than I do, I think, for the home run pick. But the Tauchman one, I did tell you on that one. So we'll see on that. We'll see if any other questions have come in. Let's see. I don't see any in Discord. A couple have come in on YouTube. Let's see here. We got those. This is let's see, Buxton, Anthony, Stanton. Buxton, Anthony, and Stanton for your outfield and FanDuel. Let me look at my lineup. Buxton, Anthony, Stanton. Yes, that is something I would do today, Tim. Would you agree with me on that one?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, it's just a little bit harder to get judged on FanDuel than it is on DraftKings today. So that looks fine. Let's see, favorite two pitchers. I think you answered.
I'm just going Brown and Skubal. I know that's kind of an easy answer, but that's what I'm going with.
The top two stacks today, we'll go down the line on this one. So for me, it's going to be the Yankees, and then give me those hot Mets. Maybe Alcantara has a little bit of regression. I think that's probably it. Justin, what would you be doing?
Top stacks. Sorry, I was sitting here trying to find the best line on that college football bet I gave out for the people because it's moved to 6.5 on most places, and I got distracted. But top stacks, I would go Yankees 1, Mets 2, Twins 3.
Tim?
Yeah, it's Twins 1 for me just because I'm double spending up at pitching. Yankees are obviously fantastic. For some cheap access, to bats, I don't mind the Pirates. But for another expensive stack, probably the Red Sox, and I do like the Guardians today too.
Tim, FanDuel shortstop. Who are a couple of your targets today?
FanDuel shortstop.
Cheap.
Yeah, definitely going cheap. Volpe is okay at 31. It's so ugly. Brooks Lee at 27. I don't really like anybody all that much. I mean, Schneemann is shortstop eligible, but he's also second base, third base. I don't know where you want to play him necessarily. But those three guys there, kind of at the bottom, Jared Triolo at 2,500 is fine as well.
Yeah, I think it's Lindor, or you're going to one of Schneemann, Lee, or Triolo pretty easily today on FanDuel. It looks like that's going to be the end of the questions. Have fun, everybody, on your Sunday. Next Sunday, there will be no baseball show. There's this thing called football. I think we're on for about 47 hours on Sunday mornings for all you guys to watch all the shows on Sunday. Other than that, have a good season. Justin, are you doing Saturdays shows with me?
We'll still be doing Saturdays. But I'll get Sundays off from the MLB writing, but we'll still have the Saturday show and the Saturday articles. So that will continue through September.
All right, you guys have a good time. Well, Justin and I and Tim, are you on? Are you doing Saturdays too? Is that
every Sunday at 9:30? I'll be on with Dean and Bobby.
All right, for football on Tim for Sunday morning. So that's going to do it for us today. Get ready for football, guys. For Tim and Justin, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button on the way out, and we out.